So just a little teaser here on upcoming video thread I'm going to make, a playlist on this car. I got to do a little work on it, but I love this car. It's a 1995. Back in the day, I think they called them SHOs, not a show. I think in the recent cars, the newer ones, 2000s, they called them show. But I'm pretty sure Ford marketed them as SHO back in 89 to 95. And then into 96 up there was a V8 car. But all I really care about, the only thing I find cool is these Yamaha powered V6 SHOs. I don't know why they changed. No trucks ever go by this fucking house. Anyway, I think it's so quirky and so cool. I used to think it was super fast, but you know, now typical Ford Focus will probably beat it at the light. But it sounds cool. It sounds like the old muscle cars with the 4-barrel carb. When you stomped on it, it opens up a secondary set of runners, and it's just a cool car. I think I used to have muscle cars, and yeah, sure, I wish I had kept them, but this is a far more pleasurable car to drive, even though it's front-wheel drive and has a computer and all that stuff, fuel injected. I just have a hoot driving this car. It handles well. I know there's lots of reviews on these. You know what? Strike that. There's not lots of reviews on it. There's a few reviews on it. There's, you know, everyday car review, something like that. There's an old car and driver review from 1989, I believe it is. And nobody that I've seen has really gone over this car with the intent of bragging about it. Why doesn't everybody have one of these? I'm going to talk a little bit about it and why I still have one, even though I haven't driven it for probably 3 years. I want to start driving it. You know, I got a lot of other projects on the go, and I got my truck I drive every day because I've always got different things to do with that. Insurance comes in, but you know what? I think this is the cheapest car I've ever insured. It doesn't even show up on insurance radar as anything but a Ford Taurus. So, you know, that's what it is. Ford Taurus comes out, saves Ford. Most people kind of know the story. Anyone that, you know, in your late 40s and up, you know when Ford introduced the Taurus, I don't know when, maybe 83, let's say, or 85, in that range. You saw them on the road and you went, wow, it's a spaceship going down the road. You see one now and it looks so old and so dated. Boy, did it appeal to the world, and to America anyways, because they sold 1 billion of them. And here's my thinking on how this exact car happened. Okay, so the Taurus is a good seller. Into, I think, 93 is when they remodeled it into the Gen 2 look. Gen 1 was a little bit boxier than this, and then they basically swooped out the nose a little bit, made it a little bit more aerodynamic. But how did it end up with an SHO? How did it end up with a Yamaha V6 high-performance, high-revving engine in? It just seems so bizarre. I think what happened was, you know, Ford was sitting in their church, in their meeting, having a thought about the Taurus is so popular. How do we make a GT version of it? How do we make a performance version of it? Something that will compete with BMW. I know. I used to drive BMWs. They're a far superior car. But this is what I'm thinking they talked about. BMW has their 4-door sedan, handles well, lots of performance. It still gets the kids to school and to the soccer games. Here we have a Taurus. Yep, it does all that too, but slow and boring. How do we get this thing ramped up? Okay, we're not going to put a 302 in it. That's Mustang territory. What else do we got? Well, we got this failed, I think it was called the GN project or somewhere. Ford was going to make a mid-engine 2-seater sports car, maybe something like the Fiero. That's how I remember it. I might be wrong, so feel free to blast away and correct me on anything I say about these things. But I think they were trying to make a Fiero. And so they didn't have a motor for that kind of thing. And let's face it, Yamaha is very well known for their high quality motors. They can't make a car. I read into it, something about that. Yamaha is not allowed to make a vehicle, something to do with the laws in Japan where only certain companies are allowed to make cars. Yamaha can make anything they want, pianos, dirt bikes, whatever, but they can't make cars, but they can make car engines. And boy, are they good with aluminum. They know how to make an aluminum engine. And Ford contracted with them to make these engines for their new big sports car they were going to make. And you know what, that would have been a cool car. Can you just imagine, 220 horsepower in a car that weighed under 2,000 pounds probably, and revved all day long? That would have been a really neat car, but the project got canceled for one reason or another. I didn't look into why, I don't know. There's people that go into this stuff microscopically, and I'm not going to do that. This is just an overview of one guy that owns one show, SHO. And so now they're under contract with Yamaha. The car gets canceled. What are they going to do with all these motors? And I'll say engine, all right, but motor engine, you know where I'm going. So I think what happened was they said, do you think that'll fit in our Taurus? We got a lot invested, let's just Hail Mary this project. We got a lot of engines, and we got a lot of cars, and the car's successful already anyway, so I think we can take a chance. Let's throw one in the shop out back there and see what it would take to make it fit. And it fit, no problem. And it moved the car along, and I think they did a little tweaking, suspension wise and stuff, and they made a really cool car. And is it a BMW? No, but it doesn't cost as much as a BMW, and it doesn't have the maintenance issues of a BMW. It's a BMW-like Ford, and quite frankly, I love it. I'm going to go through the interior now, and we'll look at the motor real quick, and I'm going to promote this car. Yeah, I kind of give it away with my license plate, but the previous owner had the car painted. This is the original color, but the paint's in excellent shape. He had renderings made up. He was going to have it painted like a burnt orange or a gold orange color. I don't know. I know this is the most, this car is dirty. It'll shine when I clean it up. I don't know if you can see all these spider webs and dirt and acorns and things all over it, but I'll get the pressure washer to it, and it's going to come up looking like new. I haven't been underneath it in a long time, but it was spotless underneath. He had put on some kind of lifetime undercoating on it, and it was on thick. Oh, what do we have here? Hitchhiker, eh? Oh, yeah. And had some cool little mufflers put on not long ago, because the old ones were actually gone altogether, and this thing actually sounds pretty bad with straight pipes. And then, of course, it would only start 1 out of 6 times because the cam sensor was shot. So I got around to changing that. I didn't even really know. I think I used the codes that the car, you can do like blinking lights or something, codes on the dash. And I think it told me that the crank sensor was gone, but the symptoms to me seem more like a cam sensor. So there's supposed to be a sensor on the side, on the cam, that tells you which, basically the cam position, so that it will fire the spark at the right time on the right cylinder when you start the car. Well, with the cam sensor gone, it just guesses. That the engine will turn over and try to start, but the firing order's all wrong, so it doesn't, and then you stop, and then you try, and all of a sudden it starts off just like new, just like it. There's no problem. You just got lucky that time. I finally got that fixed. So let's open up some doors and take a look inside. Look at that, a keypad, and yet I forget what the code is, but I'm pretty sure that it's printed in the trunk somewhere. I'll go take a look at that. So you get your basic 90s Taurus here is what it is, but I had a same year, this is 95, same year Lincoln 95, and a lot of the things in this are the same as on my Lincoln. So I think it's loaded quite well. Some people say, oh, it's kind of sparse, and these weren't cheap cars. I believe it was equivalent of about $40,000, maybe more, maybe $45,000 at the time. So they were pretty expensive for a Taurus. But I'm sure what happened was people went to buy a regular Taurus, and then buddy salesman said, hey, you should take this one for a spin, throws him the keys, and, well, sold. I mean, sold. Especially if you drove the other Taurus first. So let's hop in now. First thing you'll see, or first thing I'm going to point out is Yamaha cassette player. They were just about done in cars, just like CDs I think are done in cars now, but this has both CD and cassette player. Luckily I got, you know, my old Metallica tape in there, and probably a mixed tape, you know, to get the girl in the mood kind of thing, right? And it all works. That's pretty cool. And for some reason they, you know, I mean, it's not that hard to reach the volume lever here, but you know, if you don't want to reach the extra 1.5 inches down there off the wheel, you can just reach up here and adjust your volume up here as well. And it's got a memory selector for the radio up here as well. So it has climate control, so it's all automatic. You just set the temperature just like in my old Lincoln, and the air or heat will come on accordingly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the air isn't working in this. I think the last SHO meet I went to, which was probably 12 years ago, I bought an air conditioning compressor from somebody tailgating in the parking lot in Detroit. I have no idea if it works. I never did put it on, so it's in the garage somewhere. I'll find it. What else do we got down here? So we got CD player, AM, FM radio, cassette. Anything else interesting? It's in kilometers. 192,000. Someone said these cars, and my memory is probably fading. I used to be hyper knowledgeable about this. I joined all the forums and did all the research like 10 years ago. All of that's gone out of my head now, so if I recall something, I'll bring it up. If I don't, I'll just guess and pretend I recall it. But 192,000 kilometers is apparently low on these. These engines, as long as the rest of the car holds up, these engines will go 500,000 kilometers, so long as you do the maintenance on them. So I've got lots of life left in this car. I guess, yeah, that's your clock, hours and minutes. Rear defrost, Canadian car, of course. Oh, look at that. An actual knob that you turn the headlights on with, which I think every car should be retrofitted, because all this automatic nonsense that modern cars have, everyone just assumes their headlights are on. Nobody knows. They got little symbols. Look, it used a word, off. Isn't that great? Off. P for park. Everybody knows that with the light on. Headlight. Yeah, so there's no question what that is. It actually has a light bulb on the dial that's upside down for some reason. Oops. Okay, so I just want to show you this closer. That was totally not a mistake. All right, I'll just put that back on there. I was just thinking the old days when you actually pulled the knob out to turn on your headlights. Well, now it just removes the knob. Oh, look at that. A dimmer and an auto lamp. I don't remember what that does, but I'm sure it's pretty cool. Dimmer, an auto lamp. I'm pretty sure that's for when cars are coming the other way and you got your high beams on. I think the dimmer will lower your high beams when detecting headlights coming the other way. Now, auto lamp, I suspect, is actually what I was just complaining about, where the lights will come on automatically when the car senses it's getting dark out. I don't like that kind. And then take a look at this. Look at the view you have. I mean, even the little, what's that, a B pillar or a C pillar back there, I guess it would be called, even it has a window in it. So you can see, I mean, you can see everywhere around this car. Yeah, headrest is a little bit obstructive, but you know what? I think they're important too. I got rear-ended once in a bench seat muscle car with no headrest, and I think I'm still suffering the consequences of that with the whiplash I got. But anyways, yeah, you can see out of this car. You try sitting in an Escape or any modern, what do you call them, not SUV, but crossover, I guess, and try spinning your head around and seeing what's around you. You're just not good at it. You're gonna have to rely on your little camera so you don't run over a little kid on a bicycle or something. This car does have airbags though, so there you go. It's modern enough that it's somewhat safe. Automatic, this one is. I would love to have had a standard, call them MTX versus ATX, but at the end of the day, really, I think my standard shifting days are over. I think I'm a little too old for that now. I had plenty of standards in my time, and be honest with you, most of my memories with them are negative, you know. But it's because I was in big clunky 4-speeds and muscle cars from the 60s and stuff that, you know, your leg, I mean, holding that clutch in stop and go traffic, and I just really got to hating the 4-speeds. But you know what? They're fun. Standards are definitely way more fun. But I kind of, this is the kind of car I would drive every day, so the novelty would wear off pretty quick. And that would be that. I would much prefer the automatic. Alright, power everything on here that you need. Alright, locks. Very simple. Look at the size of these buttons too. I mean, there's no question you don't have to look at them. You can just feel around and you know where you are. Oh look, you can lock out the kitties too. Power mirrors, of course. Up top here, oh, check out the multiple layers of things going on up here. Oh, I thought that was Velcro, but it was just stuck. Because one thing everyone talks about is how sticky everything gets in these cars. But this is kind of neat, eh? I mean, you can put your visor down. But look at you, okay, so you pop your visor over to the side because the sun's there, but sometimes the sun's up in the corner or you're in curves. Oh, just put your other visor down. And look at, you can adjust it to clear off that whole frickin' thing. I mean, why does every car not do this by law? Oh, that's awesome. I mean, sure, you can't see where you're going now, but hey, the sun's not going to be a nuisance. Yoink. And yoink. Oops, I missed. All right, this side probably does it too, and it does. Oh, and look. Oh, what the? Well, it's got like mirror lights, but there's no mirror there. Of course, nothing's working. I don't have a battery in the car right now. I had to use my lawnmower battery to get it up here, but I'm buying a battery today. I got one on Marketplace and found a battery for it. I don't know what's happening here, but oh, look at that. You can pull a mirror down. And now your passenger can, under the adjustable glow of makeup lights, you know, get her face together before you arrive at the big shindig. Well, really, the only thing you're arriving at is probably going to be an SHO club reunion. But, oh, and there's absolutely no need to see out your mirror when you're driving when that's down. Everyone knows that because you got all this other visibility. So no need for that mirror. But, you know, just tell her to pop that bad boy up and there. Oh, there you got your mirror back. All right. Man, with all of these, I just got to try this. With all of these, I'm going to do everything here. All right, so that's all up. Oh, we got us a situation there, but it's just some kind of crud. It just wipes off. So, all right, and then let's go ahead and do it all in style here. And then I'm going to hop in the back seat, and you know, these are I can't get out. Oh, and it's a nice back seat too. Very comfy. It's got a giant pocket to hold, like, I don't know really what you put in there. What is in there? Maybe I'll find some treasures that I've been looking for years. Pretty sure this thing's not doing anything anymore. Oh, must be something to do with the car. You know, whenever a plastic part falls off, just throw it in there. I think that's what it's for, is car parts that fall off. Look at all the money. Money everywhere. And the other side has one too for more things, because lots of things are probably going to fall off this car. But the leather's in good shape. Even in the front, it's really not bad. It's not. I've seen them all ripped up and everyone complaining about them, but hell yeah, this is nice. I don't know if I ever sat in the back seat for any length of time. All right, I fit, and I'm 6 foot, no problem. Lots of room back here. Headroom, all right. I feel my hair on the roof, but you know. Oh yeah, it's got a sunroof. I forgot to point that out. So here you go, moonroof, and then little switches there to open, close it. What else we got? Our holy crap handles for when Dad gets a little spirited. But look at the shading we've got going on up front. No sunset is going to be a bother now. I mean, bring it, son. All right, so there is the awesomeness of the interior of 1995 Ford Taurus SHO. It's got cruise control on the wheel, and that's all that's on the wheel. All right, thank you for not putting 1,700 things on the steering wheel. I really don't know how people figure out modern cars with all the crap on there. What do we got in here? Anything? Oh, we got ashtrays back here, you know, enough to flick just a wee little bit of ash in there and annoy the driver or the owner of the car. So you're not honestly smoking in my car, are you? Kind of. You got all these ashtrays back here. Maybe they should have put... No, you wouldn't want a lighter in the back because the kids would start playing with it. And before long, someone's got to go to the hospital. So there you go, the interior cabin. And this is, I believe, the most common color code for the SHOs. For the Gen 2 anyway. I forget what they call it. Fix me up there on the name. Forest green, I'll say. It looks kind of like a British racing green. And then the inside here, I forget what they call it. Maybe a mocha or a hot chocolate or something like that. But it's nice and it's comfortable. It just is, okay? Oh, I should really show something. This is kind of cool. And I'll show it better in like an updated video. But, because you are very performance oriented, you have airbags in the seat that cradle you as you want. So you got lumbar, bolster, and there's a little air pump in the car, or in the seat, I guess. You hear it going, and you'll start feeling the air bladders in the seat fill up, and it fills all the little nooks and crannies in your crooked back and butt and thighs. And what I like most about it is these have airbags in them. I forget what they call it. I don't think it's lumbar, but anyways. So when these fill up, when these bladders fill up, it kind of pinches you into the seat and makes you feel important. All right, all the different power features are on this seat. I don't think the passenger one has any of that. I think it just got the bar up front for adjusting front and back. Something to try not to forget at the gas station is where your pump lid goes, and of course it's on the passenger side, so you're gonna go over there, you're gonna forget to pull this, you get the pump off, you go to flip the thing open by hand, it won't open, it's locked. You got to put the pump back in. If you've already gone through your credit card stuff and everything in the pump, you're probably just going to set the pump on the ground. You're going to come back around, you're going to open the door like an idiot, find the thing, there you go, probably pull the trunk by mistake. And then, yeah, you'll go back and pump your gas. That happens pretty much every single time. I forget what this key is for. Push to lock trunk. Oh shit, I just locked the trunk. Well, now I can't. Now I need the key. Oh, good thing I have the key in the ignition. Okay. Hopefully it is the ignition key, because it's not. Oh good, I have the other key. Great idea Ford had, making two keys, but I think everybody did back then. Okay, turn it. It pops up. Woo! Leave those there so I know where they're gonna be. And pop the trunk. And I heard a click. Let's go look. What? Oh my God, what do I have going on in here? I totally forgot this giant subwoofer and amp are in here. So yeah, there will be no golfing in this car, which is okay because I don't golf. But there's a little storage nook beside it, there and there, so there you go. All your exotic cars, Lamborghinis and Ferraris, have less room than this, therefore this car is better. I forget what this does. Oh, this is the... Okay, just hijacking the audio here for a minute because I didn't have my glasses on when I was doing that review, and I totally screwed up what that little pull tab was for. I thought it was for the interior trunk release if you get stuck in your trunk, but actually it was the gas door manual override opener, so you can open your gas lid in case you have no battery power. Oh, look at my old paint job is fading badly. I went over that, I think, with like a toothbrush or something to, not a toothbrush, a toothpick to paint that. Or a tiny little brush, because I thought that the gold looks really cool in there. I always thought that, yeah, it's supposed to be subtle. It's supposed to be a sleeper car. But just having the embossed letters in the same color, you know, it's time to flash it up a bit. So I did the sides too. You know, throw some gold in on the green there, and I think it's still a sleeper. Nobody knows what these are, but to me it just looks a little bit better. And previous owner decided this was a Hemi, so he had a Hemi emblem stuck on here. Oh, it just bothered that spider. But I pulled that off. I just haven't used Glue Gun or something to get rid of the adhesive, because it's really not a Hemi. All right, it's close to a Hemi in that it's 4 valve per cylinder, and the 2 valves oppose each other in more of a, not a dome shape in the head, more like a tent. You know, it's closer to a triangular shaped head than it is a dome. So it's not a Hemi or a semi-Hemi or anything like that. So let's take a look underneath that, what this car is really all about. All anybody really cares about is how many valves and where they're located. All right, so double overhead cam on top of the cylinders. I'm going to set this down for a minute. Okay, hope the motor's still in there. Hope no one stole it when I wasn't looking, and it is. Thank God. And you know what? It's still looking pretty darn good. I'm going to just zoom in on this bad boy. Do they still say that? Do people still say bad boy? So I'm going to go ahead and say, because I'm pretty much an expert on what's cool and what isn't, that's cool. That is a neat looking motor. What you can see of it anyways. And mostly what you see is the intake manifold. This thing is all intake manifold. Now you can look under them and see the aluminum valve covers, which I think also look cool. The rest of it's just Ford stuff. Ooh, that alternator, you know, not very cool. The car doesn't have a battery in it right now, as you can see. It's kind of a cool looking thing. And let me explain a couple things about this intake if you're not familiar. If you are familiar, you know all this stuff. But it's always cool to listen to another guy describe it on YouTube, because there's not enough YouTube videos on this car. There's always room for one more opinion, one more detail that someone else overlooked. But here we go. Air comes in. It can go one of 2 ways. So let's just say it's going to feed this bank of cylinders. There is a what do you call this thing? A diaphragm, I'll just say, vacuum operated diaphragm, that is always relaxed when you're just cruising around nice and gentle. So what it does, and there's one on each side, what it does is directs all the air that's coming in this manifold into long runners, all right? Long, free-flowing runners to the opposite side of the engine that the intake manifold is feeding. So for whatever reason, better flow, it gets better fuel economy when you're only using the set of long runners. Okay, 3 on that side and 3 on this side, feeding the other side. But what might happen is you need to floor it. You need to get up and go for many, many valid reasons. Mostly because what's going to happen is there's a valve that actuates these little short runners. And when these little short runners fire up, there's little valves inside each one of these secondary intake manifolds, we'll say. When they open, now the air charge is going directly to the cylinder it's feeding. I mean, immediately. This long one's still running, but this little short one's just dumping in a whole whack more air, and the computer says, woohoo, let's go. And when these open, you get the wah sound of an old 4-barrel carburetor. Sounds great. And then the thing revs forever. It just keeps revving. So you just get to enjoy that sound through all 3, I guess 4 gears. Yeah, this is a 4-speed automatic. It just keeps going up to 140 plus miles an hour. And I have been there. I approached 140 miles an hour, and you know you're moving. You know you're clicking along when you're doing 140 in a Taurus. Okay, your Ferrari's just shifting in a second, but this car, it's moving. And I wore her down because the tires were questionable. They were a little old, so I figured, I've gone 120 and thought, wow, that's, in an old car, that's really hauling. But you go from 120 to 140, just 20 more kilometers, it's a whole new planet you're on. But the car didn't flinch, there was no shaking in the wheel. It's just like it was designed to do that, and I kind of doubt it was. The engine for sure, no problem. This thing will rev to 8,000 RPM all day long, no problem. But it's limited to that because of things like the alternator and different accessories being driven on the engine weren't designed to handle all those RPMs. So the engine will cut out at 8,000 RPM. That's all you get. But I think Yamaha tested it at 11,000 RPM, revved at 11,000 RPM for like an hour long or something, or 10 hours or a day, I don't know. But it's a beautifully high revving engine. And the engines I'm used to back from the muscle car days, man, you're going over 4,000 RPM, you're just hoping it holds together. Now this thing's 4,000 RPM, it's just starting. It's halfway there. Anyway, that's how this basket of snakes works. There's 2 different intake methods depending on where your foot is on the throttle. And these will not even open until you're at, I don't know, 2,500, maybe 3,000 RPM. I forget. I think someone maybe said 4,000 RPM. Then they'll open. But there's no sense dumping all that fuel and air in at low RPMs because these engines really weren't designed. They're not torquey. I mean, when I step on it from a stop, it gets going, but not like you would think. But then all of a sudden you'll hear those open when it hits a certain RPM, and then hang on because it's taken off, and all of a sudden life is interesting. So there you go. Really not much else to say. It is hard to work on down the front there, I know, because the cam sensor is in this little tiny hole down here, and get my big mitts down in there with tools. It was really hard, but it was doable, and I did it. What else do you want to know? Let's get a view from the front. SHO on the hood, that's kind of cool. Can you see that? I don't even know. No. Yeah. I don't know if, I'm going to assume that's stock, but maybe Buddy put it on before me. But it's just an interesting piece, okay? Where do you see a motor like that in anything? That looks Lamborghini. It looks more Ferrari-ish, if you ask me. It just looks like something that a high-performance supercar back in the 70s or 80s would have had under plexiglass so you can see it. Speaking of that, why didn't they have a plexiglass window in their hood? I mean, even if it was a narrow, widthwise one, raised up with some louvers or something, so that a person could see that. Well, because it was a sleeper, that's why. If you saw a motor like that, an engine like that, it's not a sleeper anymore. All of a sudden, oh, look at that exotic Taurus. These cars were known to actually beat GT Mustangs. which were the high-performance lightweight car for Ford at the time. I don't think I'd beat too much today. First time I realized my racing days were over with this car was when I went to show a Dodge pickup driver, you know, who's in charge of the road, and he went ahead and showed me who's in charge of the road by smoking me with his Dodge diesel pickup truck. He just left me standing. I could hear my wah going and everything. Had all 220 horsepower working for me, and he just drove away. That's when I had to get home on the new fangled thing that was going on around was the internet, and I looked up what kind of performance you could get out of a diesel engine, and I realized that's it for me. This car is now just going to be a cruiser. I'm not interested in red light racing anymore, because just about anything is going to beat me. So there you go. So that's going to conclude my teaser video of the 1995 SHO. I think what I'll do is I'll make a playlist, and anything I do to this car, which is going to be lots, anytime I work on the car, I'll videotape it and do some dialogue what I'm doing. Hopefully that'll help someone in the future, because hopefully some of these cars are still around in the future. You know, they're just worth keeping. They're a great car to drive. So before too long, I'll get the brakes fixed, and then I'll take you for a drive. I'll hook the camera up in the car, and I'll talk about it. And hopefully you'll get the same vibe I get. You know, you're not going to have the same feel. You can still kind of get a seat of the pants feel in this car. The steering is really nice and heavy. The brakes are pretty much non-existent. Ford really didn't have the brakes figured out back then. But there's upgrades. I think you can do a Lincoln brake, disc brake swap, something like that, or a Crown Vic, I think it is, Crown Vic disc swap, and get your brakes working. Haven't done that, but I will. And I think that's what's wrong with this car now. It's leaking under the master cylinder, where I don't see any brake lines. So possibly it is the master cylinder. And when I get into it, I'll film it, and we'll go through how I went about finding a new one, or whatever parts I need, whatever online, who the best source for parts is. Surely there's going to be some things out there, because that's all Taurus. And yeah, sure, most of these have been crushed by now and built into new Tauruses maybe. But there's still a lot of them, hopefully in the junkyards and fields here and there. And with the internet now, with either Marketplace, Kijiji, Craigslist, or eBay, come on people with the prices though for stuff. I mean, I really don't want to pay $500 for a blinker stock, so I don't know why prices are so high for hobby stuff, but come on people, lower your prices. So I'm going to wrap it up now, shut her down, and as always, from Ontario, Canada, cheers. Have a good day.